Hello, this is Miss Yetter, and we are continuing our saga with The Worst Class Trip Ever by Dave Barry. We are on chapter 13, page 120, so let's turn to our books and get started. Chapter 13. The alley smelled even worse than the hotel room. Also, it was really, really dark. It was so dark I couldn't see Susanna, who was right in front of me, which I found out when I bumped into her. Sorry, I whispered. Shh. She inched forward, trying not to inhale the swampish smell. When we got to the end, there was a little bit of light from the house on the next street over. We could see that the yard had a high wooden fence around it and a gate to the alley. The gate had a latch, but there was no lock. Susanna quietly lifted the latch and pushed the gate. It creaked and she froze, but nothing happened, so we slowly pushed the gate open and we went into the backyard. Oh my God, whispered Susanna, breaking her own silence rule. Not that I blamed her, because the backyard wasn't empty. In fact, it was totally fully occupied by a dragon. The body had to be 20 feet long, with big spikes along the back and a long tail coiled behind. It had clawed feet and big wings on either side, and the head, well, I'd seen the head before on the plane. What in the world? Whispered Susanna. No idea, I said. We touched it. The skin was some kind of nylon-y material held up by some kind of frame underneath. You could tell that even though it looked huge, it was pretty lightweight. This is just weird, whispered Susanna. Yeah. We pondered the weirdness for a few more seconds. Then Susanna said, okay, let's see how we get inside. There was a wooden porch on the back of the house with steps going up to it. We went up the steps really carefully to keep them from creaking. There was a back door with windows on either side. I tried the door, locked. Susanna went to the window on the left and pressed her face against it. She motioned to me and I looked in. There was just enough light coming through the window that I could see it was the kitchen. We tried lifting the window. It was locked. We went to the window on the other side and looked in. It was an empty room. We tried lifting the window. It was unlocked. Slowly we slid it up. We got it open about 3 inches when it got stuck. We gave it a little shove, nothing. I was about to give it a harder shove, but Susanna stopped me. She put her mouth right next to my ear and whispered, diversion. I nodded. She was right. Opening the window was about to get noisy. When we get in, look for the basement, she whispered. I nodded again. She took out her phone and tapped to text to Cameron, now. Then we waited. We stood by the window with our shoulders just barely touching, which should have been the highlight of my life. My shoulder is touching Susanna Delgado's shoulder, but I really can't say I was enjoying the moment. Sweat was trickling into my eyes, and I don't think I was breathing at all. Nothing was happening. It felt like at least a minute had passed since Susanna sent the text, and there was no noise from the front. I decided Cameron must have chickened out. I didn't really blame him. It was insane to be deliberately trying to wake up a pair of crazy guys who, bang! Even at the back of the house, it sounded loud. The sound of a metal porch chair slamming into the front door. This was followed by Cameron's fist pounding on the front door and Cameron yelling something I couldn't make out. So much for him chickening out, now, whispered Susanna. and we both shoved up the window as hard as we could. It opened with a bang, but that got covered up by all the noise coming from the front of the house. Susanna went through the window, and I was right behind. Now we were in the empty room. There was a door to our left which opened onto a hallway. We stuck our heads out and looked right. At the end of the hallway was a door next to some stairs. I bet that's the basement door, said Susanna. We heard men yelling upstairs and feet pounding. We pulled back and watched. A couple of seconds later, the little weird guy came down the stairs with the big guy right behind. At the bottom of the staircase, they turned right away from us into what I guess was the living room, headed for the front door. The diversion was working. Come on, said Susanna. We ran to the door next to the stairs. Susanna tried it, locked. It had those round locks above the knob, the kind you need a key to open. Susanna stepped back and kicked the door hard. Then I did nothing. At the front of the house, the banging on the door suddenly stopped. We heard the front door opening and the man going out shouting. I heard Cameron shouting too from outside, still diversioning. Kick it together, I said, near the knob. 1, 2, 3. And that time it opened, and there was Matt. He was standing near the top of the basement stairs, looking terrified, and then suddenly very happy. Wyatt, he said. We heard the weird guys shouting again, but now they were closer. They must have heard us and quit chasing Cameron. They were coming back into the house. Come on, said Susanna. I grabbed Matt and yanked him up the stairs. We followed Susanna, running to the door at the back of the house. It was also locked, but it was the kind of lock you could open without a key, just by turning a knob. Susanna fumbled with it. The men shouting got louder behind us. Susanna got the door open and we ran out onto the porch. There was shouting and pounding feet in the hallway. We turned right and ran past the dragon. We got through the gate just as the weird guys reached the back porch. We went into the alley, which was still completely black. Susanna was in the front. I had Matt by the hand and was dragging him behind me. We reached the end of the alley. I looked back. It was too dark to see the weird guys, but I could hear them coming. We ran to the street, turned right, and started running down the middle of the street as fast as we could. We looked back and saw that the weird guys had reached the end of the alley and were looking around for us. They spotted us looking back at them, but they didn't start running. They could see we were too far away. We'd already proven that we could outrun them. We were going to get away. We were going to get away. And then I saw Cameron. Oh, no. He was standing in the open front door of the weird guy's house, looking in, pounding on the door frame. He hadn't seen us coming out of the alley. He thought the weird guys and we were still in the house. He was still creating a diversion. I yelled, Cameron, Cameron, run! He didn't hear me. Didn't even turn around. Didn't suspect a thing until the big guy grabbed him from behind and carried him into the house. The little guy was still in the street looking toward Susanna, Matt, and me. He stared at us for maybe 5 seconds. Then he went into the house and closed the door.